There are so many amazing female characters in gaming, some tough as hell, some strong-willed, determined, some brilliant, inspirational, and some that are just drop-dead gorgeous. But out of all of these amazing female characters, would any of them make good role models? Join me and the Sophrona as we count down the top 10 female role models in video games.
In Life is Strange, Max is a very observant and detail-oriented introvert. While witnessing her childhood friend Chloe getting shot right in front of her, Max discovers her ability to rewind time. She uses this ability not only to save her friend, but to help unravel and solve a series of mysterious disappearances in her school and local area. As the threat grows closer to Max, she never gives up and continues investigating who is committing these atrocities in their town. Even when she ends up being captured as the next victim, she is brave and never gives up, ultimately putting an end to the threat that had taken the lives of so many in Arcadia Bay. She is a great role model for those who struggle with being introverted or having social anxiety. Despite struggling with both of these herself, she pushes through it and manages not only to save a friend from ending their own life, but also stops someone so evil and secretive that without Max's determination, likely would have taken more victims. By the end of the game, Max realizes that messing with time will lead to the destruction of the entire town. And in order to save all of those lives from destruction, she has to make the ultimate sacrifice of going back in time and allowing her friend to be shot in order to correct the timeline.
Faith Connors grew up in a city controlled by a corrupt regime. After Faith's mother loses her life attempting to escape a protest, her father falls into a downward spiral of depression and drinking, which ultimately leads him to neglecting his two daughters, Kate and Faith. She ends up running away from home and becoming a runner, a group of couriers who actively work against the regime that is oppressing the city. Throughout the story, she fights to prove the innocence of her sister who was framed for an assassination. After confirming that her sister was framed, Kate ends up being found guilty and sent to prison. Committed to not allowing this to happen to Kate, Faith rescues her sister, destroys the city's surveillance servers, and manages to get both of them out alive. Faith is a great example of a role model who is willing to stand up for the innocent even while living under the boot of a corrupt regime. Jade works as a journalist seeking the truth behind disappearances and trafficking. Apart from her noble career path, she is incredibly loyal and takes care of orphans after converting a lighthouse into an orphanage. Her investigations drive her forward as she seeks justice for those in her world. What makes her a great role model isn't just that she protects and takes care of the innocent. When it comes to her journalism, she doesn't just look for one answer, but seeks both sides of a story in order to uncover the truth hidden between. I wasn't expecting Yennefer to make it on this list, but as I thought about her character and backstory, I realized that she is actually a really good example of a role model. Born with physical disabilities, her father abused her regularly until he eventually left her and her mother. To make matters worse, her own mother went on to blame her for her father leaving them and began abusing Yennefer as well. Due to her innate magical abilities, she was taken into a school of sorceresses, where she tragically attempted to take her own life. During her training, her physical disabilities were removed, but sadly, she could no longer have children. She eventually graduated, and despite the king ruling that no magic users were allowed in the kingdom, she stayed and used her magic to help others. Something that eventually led to her meeting and developing a relationship with Geralt the Witcher. As their relationship grew, she even helped take care of Ciri, someone taken under Geralt's wing, and became a motherly figure towards her. Yennefer is a good role model because despite her disabilities and abusive past, she uses her newfound powers to help others. Tali'Zorah is not only a cute and brilliant engineer that many love in the Mass Effect trilogy, but she is also a great role model. Not long after becoming an adult and going out on her own, she discovers that a major and well-known figure was behind an attack on a planet colony. Armed with this dangerous information, she makes her way to the Citadel and tries to get this information to someone who can use it. After being betrayed, she is rescued by Commander Shepard, whose crew she quickly joins and becomes an integral part of. As the years go on, Tali'Zorah becomes a hero to her own people, regularly going on missions to save them, furthering their technology, and even making discoveries about the Geth, an AI species that forced her people to flee their homeworld. Because of all of her hard work, both with Shepard and on her own, she ends up being an important figure in bringing peace between her own people and the Geth. By the end of the series, her people can return home thanks to hers and Shepard's efforts, and live in harmony with those they once viewed as their enemies. And if that wasn't enough, Tali helps play an important part in saving the entire galaxy on multiple occasions from the ominous threat of the Reapers. All of these things combined show that despite Tali being young and relatively inexperienced, she excels and saves not only her own people, but the entire galaxy as a whole.
Jill Valentine is a resilient character willing to risk her life in the pursuit of uncovering the truth and seeking justice. Having been in the US Army and STARS, she uses her incredible skills to investigate serious crime and often put herself in harm's way to do what's right. Even when she has no support from the organizations that she belongs to, she's willing to put it all on the line in order to stop threats that most would run in fear from. She doesn't just take down corrupt organizations, she also fights immense monsters and undead threats. She is so much of a threat herself that one corporation even sends a nearly indestructible, mutated super soldier just to take her out. But even that doesn't stop her. I think she's a good role model because she refuses to let her own circumstances or situations prevent her from doing what's right. She has unstoppable determination and is a complete badass.
Elizabeth is not only one of my favorite BioShock characters, but is actually one of my personal favorites in gaming in general. Elizabeth was a girl with the ability to tear holes in reality, locked in a tower and sheltered from the outside world until Booker set her free. She was awestruck and amazed with the wonders of the world, but sadly was shocked to the harsh brutality of the world after witnessing Booker having to defend them. Across the story, Elizabeth has to grow up very fast, witnessing things she likely never imagined. Not only does she help Booker and stand on her own, but she refuses to be controlled or manipulated. The moment she realizes Booker isn't being honest with her, she escapes on her own. However, when she discovers that Booker is in danger, she does the right thing and rescues him. The pair go on a journey where Elizabeth has to do things she never expected. Faced with the harsh reality of her past and true history, she is brave and even willing to rip themselves into new realities in order to accomplish their goals. Elizabeth eventually realizes that her actions have had consequences that she never intended. This learning experience completely changes her forever, forcing her to not only make a hard decision to save the innocent, but to put aside her fantasies in order to do what she believes is right. Her experiences across the story would break many, but she stays strong, is willing to forgive those who wronged her, and makes decisions so insanely impactful that spoiling them here would be a great injustice. Seriously, if you haven't played BioShock Infinite, you are missing out on an amazing story with one of the greatest and most lovable characters I've ever seen in gaming. Elizabeth's journey makes her a great role model, as her past and sheltered life failed to keep her from doing what's right and striving to not only make a better future, but also to make a better world.
Aerith's life is very tragic. But despite her experiences, the way that she acts and how she treats those around her is what lands her on this list. Her childhood was filled with constant strife and torment. Due to her genetics, she was exploited, held in captivity, and even experimented on. When her mother managed to escape with Aerith, she found someone to take care of her before she passed away from the experimentation. Aerith grew up adopted and sheltered, not being allowed to expose herself to the outside world or even watch TV. Sadly, she had no friends, and those that she tried to befriend wanted nothing to do with her. Although she wasn't allowed to get a job, she did do volunteer work at a local orphanage. Now, despite all of her troubled past, when she befriends Cloud and the Avalanche crew, she always manages to be positive and uplifting. She encourages everyone and tries to cheer up her friends whenever they're struggling. She isn't just a friendly face though, as when Tifa appears to be held hostage, Aerith is the one who comes up with a plan to save her. In the end, Aerith makes the ultimate sacrifice by giving up her own life to stop Sephiroth's plans and save the planet from total destruction. Aerith is a great role model because she always remains positive and supportive of those around her. even though she herself has lived a life where others have treated her as nothing more than something to be exploited. She doesn't let that shape her or keep her down. She lives her best life, and most would probably not even notice what she's been through.
Cassandra is actually one of my favorite characters that's been introduced in recent years. Born in Sparta as the granddaughter of King Leonidas, she is raised by her adopted father who trained her in agoge like most Spartan children. At the age of 7, she witnesses her family having her brother sacrificed in a cult ritual. She runs in trying to stop it, but rather than saving her brother, she accidentally shoves the priest along with her brother over the cliff's edge. Her father was then ordered to execute her, and he complies, throwing Cassandra off of the same cliff. Falling below, she somehow manages to survive and escape to a faraway island, an island where she was found and raised by a merchant. As she grew into adulthood, she became a mystios and traveled the Greek world helping others and doing jobs for those she came across. She even took a young orphan named Phoebe under her wing. Phoebe looked up to Cassandra and tried too often to follow in her footsteps, something Cassandra tried to discourage for Phoebe's safety. Cassandra eventually discovered that an evil cult was secretly ruling the Greek world and causing the corruption and manipulation of their society. She made it her mission to stop them across the course of the story. Sadly, Phoebe's attempts at trying to be just like Cassandra ultimately led her to making terrible mistakes that cost her her life, something Cassandra carried with her for thousands of years. Cassandra also discovered that her brother had not only survived, but he was now part of this cult. Cassandra not only manages to defeat the cult, but even manages to bring her brother back from his brainwashing. That's not where Cassandra's adventures end though. Discovering that she was part of an ancient bloodline, she agrees to living an extended life in order to protect the secrets of Atlantis. Knowing that this will result in her watching everyone she knows and loves grow old and pass on, she still makes this sacrifice for the greater good, living on for well over the next 2,000 years. Cassandra is a great role model because she is a survivor, a protector, a healer, and ultimately willing to sacrifice a personal life and her own happiness for the good of all life.
Aloy was a... wait, wrong list. Just like the top 10 male role models in video games, a Paragon Commander Shepard really is the obvious choice for number 1. Commander Shepard is not only trying to save the entire galaxy from destruction, but she has to do so while her galactic leaders undermine her efforts and disregard her claims of the incoming threat. This puts Shepard in the position of having to do what is right without the support of those in leadership, who are supposed to protect the galaxy as a whole. Shepard is someone who inspires those on her crew to be better people, and most of them know that she would lay her life down for any one of them if it came down to it. In fact, there are multiple occasions across the Mass Effect trilogy where Shepard is willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for all life. She defends and helps everyone, despite their race, religion, politics, or even if they've made mistakes that others would not forgive. A Paragon Commander Shepard exemplifies what it means to be a role model. Not only does she showcase the traits of a selfless leader and inspire her crew on a regular basis, but she also inspires countless others throughout the galaxy with her bravery and leadership. In a galactic government that looks down on humans and often treats them with disdain and racism, Shepard had a lot to prove and did so through her dedication, hard work, and self-sacrifice. Shepard is incredibly loyal to her loved ones and would move the stars for them if she could. I think all of these traits make Commander Shepard one of the best female role models in video games.
There are so many incredible female role models in gaming, most of which showcase that just because you have been wronged or had a difficult past, that doesn't have to define who you become. This is something that I personally find very admirable. However, what makes a good role model kind of depends on your personal opinions on what constitutes good morals. Given that, I'm sure that there are many characters that some of you may think should have made it on the list, and probably others that you think shouldn't have been. Feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts and we can discuss it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out my last video, Top 10 Male Role Models in Video Games. Subscribe if you want to support me, and I will see you in the next video.